I have a perfect little example for you. Do you know this phrase? Electromagnetic energy is the fundamental energy upon which all living organisms depend. I think we all saw them more or less somewhere on the internet. Very famous. It's a quote from Dr. Werner Heisenberg, a German physicist who worked a lot with electromagnetic energy, and he was a Nobel laureate, you know. About 7 or 8 years ago, I met his son. He's a professor at the Technical University in Munich. And I said, can you please answer me a question? Because even us, can you imagine, on our previous website, we use this quote. Because it fits perfectly to what we want to present to the people, right? Because it's very powerful. So I asked him, I said, did your father ever say this? I said, that's a big joke, he never ever said this. This was a quote which somebody invented out of context during a speech Mr. Heisenberg probably did in front of an audience, where he probably said something which was related to that, but he never said this. He never ever said this. And, you know, rule number 2, the internet doesn't forget anything. Once it's on, it's on. And suddenly, a quote which was never ever quoted by this very famous and very, very honorable person ends up in the internet and gets misused. He never said this. Period. You know? And this is happening all the time right now. A lot of people, a lot of companies, they just copy-paste. You know, to make a new website with AI, AI doesn't know if Heisenberg said this, because AI will not ask his son. But if AI finds this quote on the internet, oh, that sounds good, that fits perfectly to this website, let's take it over. And bang, here you are. You know, that's the downside of AI. Because AI can only rely on existing information, and AI does not determine whether this information is verified or not. So that's a huge problem. And that's why, you know, there's so many second-hand, I call it second-hand quotation. Because you just take it from somewhere without checking whether it's verified, whether it's true, and whether are you even allowed to use it? That's the next thing, right? And so that happens, suddenly you have 50, 60 manufacturers of such PMF devices, and you read more or less the same content, even if the systems are completely different. Huh? And believe me, that's what's happening. And you need education to determine what's right and what's wrong. So the so-called unverified acceptance of information effects, especially in online communication, is nowadays an established and unquestioned reality. That's happening on a daily basis. Do you agree with me? Does it make sense that this is happening? Right? So here we are. We have the established behavior of sharing and altering information by copy and paste. In addition, with a personal touch, made PMF what it represents nowadays in societies. Because what people do they not only copy and paste, then they put their personal flavor on top of it. Huh? But our Schumann resonances are much better because of whatsoever. Right? And then we end up with a still controversial, questionable topic among science, because science is not stupid. They look at all this and they say, something is going wrong here. Because there are so many controversy publications, phrases out of PMF. This cannot be something really verifiable. You know, it's not. You know, and for people like you and me, it's still a complex, confusing, and misrepresented physical phenomenon. And I can tell you that PMF is nothing else than 100% applied physics. And here's the problem. If physics would be so easy, and if physics would be understood by everybody easily, we would have no problem. You know, even me, after 30 years, if I would have to explain to you now the law of induction, which is one of the most fundamental laws which we use in PMF, I'm not able to explain it to you properly. I'm very honest. Because it's so complex, and I'm not sure if you remember physics, when we went out of the classroom with all these question marks around us, and head down said, I will never learn this, I will never understand this. This makes it so dangerous, because on one hand, PMF is 100% science. On the other hand, it is quite not understood by people like you and me, because it's so complex. And because of that fact, it is very easy to deceive people and to mislead them with incoherent information. Just put the marketing pitch out with facts. People don't understand it anyway. How can you prove if the Schumann resonance is coming out of that unit or not? Right? Nobody can prove that. Well, when you manufacture a PMF device and you have to certify it, as a medical device, then you have to prove it, because otherwise we won't get a certificate. Because then you do have all the measurings, the tests and everything. All these clinical evaluation. We have a clinical evaluation about the IMRS prime of about 210 pages. Cost me a fortune. Without that, nobody reads that. But you have to have it. And you have to have it in a way that's nothing wrong what's inside. Because at a certain time, somebody will read it. And if you didn't do it properly, they say, oh, this is wrong. You get your certificate, you get your license off, And that's what I'm talking about. You have to understand that, And you are allowed to ask questions. If a PMF manufacturer comes to you and wants to sell a system to you, ask questions. And when we're done here today, you know exactly what questions to ask. And if they cannot answer these questions, thank you for flying Coconut Airlines.